The Richest Man in Babylon by George Samuel Clason. Once, in a time long ago in the ancient city of Babylon, a young man named Arcad stood at the crossroads of his life. Babylon, one of the wealthiest cities in the ancient world, was known for its grand walls, splendid gardens, and the wisdom that flowed through its streets like the Tigris River. But despite the city's wealth, Arcad was just a humble scribe, struggling to make ends meet. He had little savings, no property, and no prospects beyond his daily toil. One day, as Arcad was walking through the bustling market, he overheard a conversation between two men. They spoke in awe of a man named Arcad, who had risen from poverty to become the richest man in Babylon. His name was now synonymous with wealth and wisdom. Arcad was intrigued. He knew he had to learn more about this man, who had achieved what he believed to be impossible. That evening, Arcad approached the man who had been speaking so highly of the wealthy Arcad. He asked, "How did Arcad, a man like me, become the richest man in Babylon? What was his secret?" The man smiled and began to tell Arcad the story of how the young scribe had once been as poor as he was now, but had discovered a set of principles that changed his life forever. These principles, passed down through generations in Babylon, held the key to wealth and prosperity. The story he told was not just about money, but about the way life itself worked when you learned to live wisely. Chapter 1. The start of Arcad's journey. Years ago, Arcad was a young man working as a humble scribe in the heart of Babylon. He was content with his work, but he always felt there was something missing. One day, as Arcad sat in the marketplace, he overheard a group of wealthy merchants discussing their fortunes. He listened closely, wondering how they had amassed their wealth. As the conversation ended, Arcad approached one of the merchants, a man named Algamish, who was known to be a successful businessman. "Sir, how did you come to acquire such wealth?" Arcad asked humbly. Algamish looked at the young scribe with a knowing smile and replied, "I am not richer than you, Arcad. I am simply wiser with money. If you wish to learn the way of wealth, I will teach you the laws of money." And so, Algamish began to impart his wisdom to Arcad, sharing with him the 7 cures for a lean purse. These principles would guide him toward financial success. These lessons, Algamish said, were not secrets, but simple truths that anyone could follow, no matter their background. Chapter 2. The 7 cures for a lean purse. The first cure. Start thy purse to fattening. The first lesson Algamish taught Arcad was the importance of saving. "A part of all you earn is yours to keep," he said. "The more you save, the more you will have." Arcad was instructed to take 10% of his earnings and save it before spending anything else. This simple practice of paying himself first was the foundation for building wealth. Arcad realized that he had been living paycheck to paycheck, spending whatever he earned without saving for the future. Algamish explained that the key to wealth was not in how much money you earned, but in how much you kept. Arcad promised to save at least 10% of his income and begin to build his fortune. The second cure, control thy expenditures. Arcad's second lesson was to live within his means. "Do not confuse necessary expenses with desires," Algamish said. "A man who is rich does not spend his money on luxuries and indulgences. He spends on what is necessary." Arcad learned that he must be mindful of his spending habits, avoid wasteful expenditures, and distinguish between his wants and needs. This lesson was a difficult one for Arcad, as he had often spent money on things that were not truly necessary. But as he practiced controlling his expenditures, he found that his wealth began to grow. His savings increased, and he felt a sense of control over his finances that he had never experienced before. The third cure, make thy gold multiply. The third cure was to make his savings work for him. "Money that is not invested will lose its value over time," Algamish warned. Arcad was instructed to invest his savings wisely, so that his wealth would multiply. He learned the importance of seeking good advice and using his money to create more opportunities for wealth. Arcad invested his savings in ventures that promised steady returns, such as lending money at interest and purchasing property that generated income. Over time, his money grew, and he began to see the power of compound interest and sound investments. The fourth cure, guard thy treasures from loss. The fourth lesson was to protect his wealth from loss. "The wise man seeks counsel before he invests," Algamish said. Arcad learned the importance of being cautious with his investments, ensuring that they were sound and secure. He was warned never to risk money he could not afford to lose and always to consult experts before making any major financial decisions. Arkad made a habit of seeking wise counsel and learning about the risks of different investments. By doing so, he was able to avoid costly mistakes and protect his wealth from unforeseen dangers. This lesson taught him that security was just as important as growth when it came to wealth building. The fifth cure: make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. Arkad's fifth lesson was about the importance of owning a home. A man should own his own home, for it is a stable and profitable investment, Algamish said. He explained that a house provided both shelter and a valuable asset that could increase in value over time. Arkad took this advice to heart and worked diligently to purchase his own home. By doing so, he was able to stop paying rent and invest in something that would appreciate over time. As he watched the value of his property rise, he understood the wisdom in Algamish's words. The sixth cure: ensure a future income. The sixth cure was to plan for the future. A wise man prepares for his future by investing in ways that will provide him with income in his later years, Algamish said. Arkad was taught the importance of saving and investing for retirement so that he would not rely on his labor forever. Arkad began to set aside money for his future, investing in long-term ventures that would provide him with income later in life. This lesson instilled in him the importance of creating passive income streams and building wealth that would last beyond his working years. The seventh cure: increase thy ability to earn. The final lesson was to continually invest in oneself. A man who seeks wisdom, knowledge, and skill is a man who can increase his earning power, Algamish said. Arkad realized that learning was an ongoing process, and that his ability to earn more money depended on his willingness to improve his skills and knowledge. Arkad invested time and money into learning new skills, improving his abilities, and expanding his expertise. This not only helped him earn more money, but also provided him with greater opportunities for advancement in his career. Arkad understood that true wealth was not just about money, it was about continuously growing and evolving as a person.
Act 3.
Arkad's transformation. With Algamish's teachings guiding him, Arkad slowly but surely transformed his financial life, diligently saved 10% of his income, controlled his expenditures, made wise investments, and sought knowledge. Over time, his wealth began to grow, and he became more prosperous than he had ever dreamed. Arkad's newfound wisdom was not just about accumulating wealth, it was about living a life of discipline, patience, and foresight. He learned that true wealth comes from mastering one's money, living within one's means, and investing wisely. He also realized that wealth is not an end in itself, but a means to live a better life, one that is secure, fulfilling, and full of opportunities. As Arkad became wealthier, he did not forget the lessons that had brought him success. He continued to share these principles with others, teaching them how to create wealth and live prosperous lives. He became a beacon of wisdom and prosperity in Babylon, and his story spread far and wide. Chapter 4: The Wealth of Babylon. Arkad's teachings became a cornerstone of Babylon's financial wisdom. The city prospered as more and more people applied the 7 cures for a lean purse to their lives. The wealth of Babylon grew, not just in terms of gold and silver, but in the knowledge and wisdom that its citizens shared with one another. Arkad's story was one of humble beginnings, but it was also a story of discipline, patience, wisdom, and the power of applying knowledge. He had learned the secret to wealth, and now he was passing it on to others, ensuring that the principles of prosperity would continue to guide future generations.